Good evening and welcome. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host. Tonight, we are going to fight CPS and stop our children being taken. Now, CPS, as some of you don't know it, is the Child Protection System. It's a branch of social services that is entrusted to protect our children from abuse and neglect, and also to bring our family back together through unification. It's a very important responsibility. This agency has a long history. It was not formalized into the 1900s. In the early states of protecting our children, it was a society and rich people. It started back in the 1600s, and it's got through a lot of changes to where it is now today. But you need to know all about it. Now, I'm not an attorney. I'm a loving father of 6 children, 3 older children and 3 younger children. So I have a family of 6. I have a wife of 32 years. And unfortunately, my experience with CPS started in 2010. It became a serious problem in 2015 when they stole my children and put them in and trafficked them into foster care and alienated them from their parents. Now, thank you for, let me see, we had several people come in. That is great. Welcome to the room and welcome to my podcast. Now, my case, and I've said it many times before, it was a difficult case. It was really a difficult case. It was. Now, there's several ways we can interact with this podcast. One way is to text a comment. Another way is to call in and speak on my office phone. A third way is to set up to be a guest on my show. Now, the first way is a comment. That means you found me on Facebook, Fighting CPS, Bob Pace Fighting CPS. And I am broadcasting on YouTube. And I'm using the StreamYard application to do the broadcast. Now, the broadcast is open up to anyone from the United States or from the world that's dealing with the child protection system. This is strictly about child protection, and hopefully I can help you. I can educate you, and maybe you can leave the room feeling that you learned something. Because you are desperate at your rope's end right now. I know how all you feel. Some of you have a case been going on for a long time. Some of you have been in my room regularly and religiously. But it is a long road to get your kids back. It's not going to happen overnight, or not the 48. What is it? They tell you that 48 hours is the earliest or something, or 3 months or whatever. My case, when my children were stolen, took 3 years to get back. And I had to fight CPS 5 years before the 3 years. Then after that, I've been doing this podcast to help other people to don't make the same mistake. And I've talked to a lot of people, over 500 people in the U.S. and over 10, 15 people worldwide. And so when you type in a comment, it's about CPS. That's the question you want to ask. And please show your name, city, state, or country and be complete with your CPS case. Be complete with your CPS case. Also, it's easier if we don't play ping pong that you tell me everything at once. Because if you tell me a little bit and I have to ask a question, then it goes back and forth. And 20 minutes later, we're still trying to talk about the first part. Now, your CPS case, what I need to know from you all on the comment section when you call in, besides your name, city, and state, I want to know the makeup of your family. Are you a husband, wife? Are you boyfriend, girlfriend? Are you a partnership? Or were you just lovers in the night? How is the children related to you? Are there multiple fathers, multiple mothers? Family is really a mixture in the United States. Are you a grandparent? Calling about your daughter. So identify in the first part of your family makeup. Then I want to know what you're alleged that they're accusing you of. Was it neglect? Was it abuse? Was it both? And what were the details of neglect and abuse? Then I want to know how the children were taken from you. Did you give the children? Did you walk them down to the social services? Did they come to your home and you let them have it? Did they have a court order to take them from your home? Did you talk to them? There's a lot of things that happen when they take out the children. And then thirdly, what you want to do is where the case is. Is it just starting out? It's been going for a long time. So those are the things I like to know. So if you answer those questions, it'd be much appreciated. Now I'm going to check on a couple of people that aren't in my room yet. Oh wait, maybe they did come in. Natalie, you're here. Great, welcome, Natalie. Natalie is from West Hollywood, and she is a very good woman that's helped me. She's called on the show, and she's trying to make her best in her little part of the world in West Hollywood, California. And so she's here most of the time, and I welcome you here. I do welcome. But I don't see Faye, so let me check on Faye and see what's keeping Faye from coming. Faye's from Richmond, Kentucky. Very great. Okay, I just sent it out there. And oh, hi, Anna. You were here before. I'm so glad you came back again. Anna was trying to get some help. I think Anna is from Washington, D.C., if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct, Anna? Am I correct, Anna, that you're from Washington, D.C.? Oh, you made a bouquet, Natalie. That is beautiful. I bet your bouquet looks really, really good. Now, the other person I'm trying to get of has had computer issues, and that was from Danielle from Georgia. And I've been trying to get her, but I still have not heard from her. So I've contacted. Hey, Faye, you're here. Yay. Yay, I remember Ina from Washington, D.C. I'm so glad you came back. And Faye's from Richmond here, Kentucky. She found the baby kittens today, but she's still trying to get the mama. Oh my goodness, you had a pit bull grab you? I hope you weren't hurt. I hope you were not hurt, Faye. I know you probably you got to be careful. That dog has rabies. You don't want to go through the treatment for rabies. It can be a really bad thing. Natalie says, hi, Faye. So we got Ian from Washington, D.C., we got Faye from Richmond, Kentucky, and we got Natalie from West Hollywood, California. So that's great. And we got several other people that aren't commenting. They're in the room. We have about a total of maybe 10, 12 people listening. So, Ian is asking, which story? He says, what's your story again? I have family here. Ian, which one are you asking about, Faye, or are you asking about Natalie? Ina Christian. Are you asking about Faye or Natalie? Oh, my story. Well, yeah, my story is it's very tragic. I had lost my job through no fault of my own in 2010. And when I lost my job, unbeknownst to me, allegations started coming in about me and my wife and my family. We did not know the allegations were from the lay people, the people that are not professionally required to report abuse or neglect. They're actually my in-laws, my wife's mother, father, sisters, and brothers that were habitually for 5 years steady calling false allegations and making CPS come out to my home and listen and talk, and it just went on and on for 5 years. And so when I did not know at this time. I found that out later that it was my in-laws. So I answered all the time, and they were dismissed week after week, month after month, year after year. They were determined to get our children. They thought that we couldn't take care of them. I lost my job, and I had a really great paying job. I had mortgage payment and stuff, but I was able to keep my house until I had to sell it. When I had to sell it, I had to get the money to pay my attorney to get my kids. So that took some time. And so 5 years later, CPS finally convinced the police department to catch me. Now, I would show them my home. I would show them the reports where I paid the utilities. I'd show them my kids' school records. I'd show them their bedrooms. I showed how we prepare the food. There was nothing they could find anything wrong. But they were angry. I never saw an agency attack someone like me. Now, I'm in Orange County, California, but I live at the beach. And I have no idea, but these social workers were really corrupt, really corrupt. Well, they conned me to come to my home. I forgot how many times this is, but anyway, this is 2015. Well, unfortunately, about a couple months later, before that, my mom and dad were getting old and dying. And they said, son, can you help get rid of our belongings? We have 55 years of marriage, and we have a lot of belongings to let go. And so they had a big house, about 3,000 square foot. And so I took all their belongings and put them in my house. The only problem is when you do that to your house, my house was big. It was about 3,000 square foot. But suddenly I got their belongings with my belongings, and the living room was stacked with boxes and furniture. CPS didn't like that. They said that was neglect. They said stacking the boxes could hurt your children. I said, how could they hurt my children? They're taller than boxes. They're upstairs in the room when they go to bed. They have their own bathroom. Their bedrooms are clean. You've seen that. And you see our house is state of art. It's a very expensive house. I have CC&Rs. I live in a private neighborhood a mile from the beach. And they charged me with neglect. And right away, they took my children. Now, you're supposed to have imminent danger before they take your children. But they grabbed my children. They trafficked my children into foster care. And you know what extreme danger they're in? They were at school when they took them. My 15-year-old was going to a private a private Catholic high performance sports and academics. They were at the cream of the crop in high school. My daughter was in middle school, a very well-to-do middle school, and my son was at the state of art elementary school. All of them were in STEM classes. They took a science class, a technology class, education class, and a math class. Both my boys, one boy wanted to be an astronaut, the other one wanted to be an engineer in artificial intelligence. So my kids were all in these advanced placement classes in school and all this other stuff. Our daughter wanted to be in sports. Now we have Christina. Thank you for showing. Christina's from New Mexico, and she just came in, and I'm glad to see her there. She was with me this morning, and so Christina's here. Okay, that's all right. Ian, I'll give a recap of the stories as best as I can. I know Natalie's a long story, but I'm right now talking about my story because Ina, I guess they want to know that your family's there and want to know what my story is all about. And so now I'm faced with the fact that my kids are taken from, did you ever heard of boxes attacking children? Did you ever hear that the school is a dangerous place for children to be at? CPS, the Child Protection System, says imminent danger. It didn't say if they're not in imminent danger to take your kids. Of course, I didn't know all the laws. My rule number 3 is you do not talk to social workers. You do not let social workers in your home. And you do not let social workers take your child. I did not know that. So I went along with it. 2 of my kids were removed from school. One of them I just had picked up, and he was in bad shape. Excuse me 1 second here. Sorry, I think I got too much sun today. My face is red, and I didn't want to sneeze so much. But anyway, going back to my story, they took my children, and that night they put them in the safest spot you would think. It was a concrete block house next to the courthouse of the Orange County Dependency Courts. And right behind the blockhouse was the juvenile prisoners. And you know what their play yard was? Next to the shelter for the kids. So you had our children exposed to convicted juveniles in prison. That is protecting your kids. That is CPS. That is the Child Protection Services. How's that protecting our kids? Not only that, they had a beehive. Several beehives are attacking the kids. The place was dirty. The food was awful. Their source of education for my kids was reading a book. For 4 days, they were kept in captivity. And I pushed for a safety plan where I put them with next of kin. I put them with my wife's sister and her husband, all 3 children. And that's where they were taken for the time being until they brought further back into foster care. Because my in-laws that were playing things were doing things behind my back. And they couldn't handle 3 children to take them to school, to what we did. We were full-time parents. We weren't part-time. And I'm a father, and I love my family. I'm responsible for my family. Glad to see you, Crystal Salazar. Glad to see you, Crystal. I'm talking about my story because one of Ian, the new person from Washington, D.C., wanted to hear about it. So suddenly, I'm now trapped with an agency that's worse than the IRS. You want an agency? It's a government agency, and it stinks. They're a bunch of animals. They lie. They're not transparent. And they steal children legally. They traffic children legally. You do not want to mix with them. You do not. So, I'm telling you, it got worse for me. The only way I was able to bring 2 of my 3 children home, they took 3 of my 6 children. 2 boys, 1 girl. But the social worker that I had was 23 years old, no license, no college degree. I don't know if she had a high school degree. And here she is supposed to be a social worker, knows how to do family reunification. All she talked about was a Gucci purse, her eyelashes, her eye makeup, her accessories, her clothing, her BMW car, because she worked on bonuses. They get $20,000 a month for each of my children in Orange County. That's $60,000 a month. If you have 100 kids with 3 children each in 1 month, that's $6 million. It's an $80 billion business, CPS. But the social worker didn't stop there. When my wife's sister tried to attempt another way of getting my family, she was trying to adopt our daughter, and we were against it because the whole family was bad. The social worker was on the stand, and our attorney that we hired, I had to sell my house, by the way, but I got money to buy and get a good attorney. That was Mr. Vincent Davis. And on the cross-examination of the social worker, she lied. The question was, do the sister and her husband have any domestic violent cases? And the social worker says, yeah, I checked them out. They don't have any domestic violence. Well, my attorney slammed her with so much legal stuff he had. She was blasted out of the court. She was so embarrassed. But you know what? They're still in control. You know what she did? She told us the next day, or I don't know, the day after, whatever, you are not going to see your daughter. And you know what she said? She told a 12-year-old, get this, I want you to divorce your parents, including your brothers and your grandparents and your cousins and your aunts and your uncles, etc. Divorce the whole family. Then I want you to change your name. I want you to seal your birth certificate. And then I want you to be adopted by a foster care. Well, at 12, she didn't know any better. Come on. 12-year-olds don't know how to do all that. That social worker coached. She learned from it. And our daughter, it was really, naive about that. And she went and did it. Now, her birthday was just recently, and it hurts for me because she's my daughter. She's my wife's daughter. And she just turned 22 on July 9th. Now, I have not seen her since 12. My wife hasn't seen, we have not seen her since 12. Our sons, we do encourage them to keep in touch, but she's divorced from her brothers. Now, let me go here. Lovely just came in the room. Now, Lovely, you sound new. My oldest son was involved in a delinquency case, and because I limit the release of information, was only willing to meet with DHS in public settings. The magistrate ordered DHS to file a separate case against me without any investigation done. 2 days later, there was a very verbal reward order authorized, and my children were evolved or removed without imminent danger. They were removed without imminent danger. And unbeknownst to me, notice was, and she's in Denver, Colorado. Lovely, that is horrible. Lovely, I hear you. I hear you, and I know what you're going through. That is so bad because, first of all, my rule number 3 is you do not talk to social workers. You do not let them in your home. You don't let them take your children. You don't go down to see them. It's yes, no. But you got to do rule 1. That means you got to get an attorney. You need someone to represent you. And I'll talk about rule 1 more and rule 3 more. But I'm so sorry that happened to you, Lovely. Both children were removed, and my youngest is definitely not involved in a delinquency case. Yep. They're trying to get money from you in Denver, Colorado. You know, I'm glad you joined us this room. We have New Mexico represented here. We have Richmond, Kentucky. We have West Hollywood, California. We have Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. was a horrible case. There was a mother that was raped twice by the worst police force I ever known of. And she lost her children through no fault of her own. Because while she's getting raped and robbed and all this stuff, she's tangled up with the law. She had to put her children with relatives, and one of them molested them, and now the children are out of her hands. And that is Ina, I-N-A, from Washington, D.C. Natalie has been fighting it for a long time, and she's from West Hollywood. Christina from New Mexico had a horrible, horrible case, but she's old time. She wants to do something. Her son is so mad what happened to him. Her son, get this, was stolen by a babysitter, and she didn't see her son for 11 years. He was 5 years at the time, or 4 years. And then on Facebook, she found him at 15, and she's brought him back to life. I think he's 27 now, but he is so angry. He is so angry. And then we have Faye, who was brought up in foster care because her mom was very abusive and drug and everything. And she got raped and molested and told to walk on rocks in her bare feet. I mean, she has lots of horror stories. She lost her daughter. They lied and cheat. And now she's trying to get custody of her 22-year-old son as a special needs son. And she's still fighting. Still fighting. There's Crystal Salazar. And Crystal is, I forgot where you're from. I thought I knew. Okay. Crystal, where are you from? I thought you told me. We have Crystal Salazar and Ian and Natalie. I'm trying to keep track of everybody so everybody knows everything. So Lovely is from Denver, Colorado. We know that. And it sounds almost similar for me, Lovely. That was Crystal Salazar. Now, Crystal has another terrible, terrible case. Her daughter was approached at school by a CPS worker posing, I don't know if he posed, but he was a legitimate CPS worker, supposedly, who asked to see her daughter alone in one of the rooms at school. Then he proceeded to tell her to remove her clothes. This is a social worker, just as bad as mine. The social worker took pictures of her daughter, 13, naked. And then there's a retaliation against, because the mom called and reported him and he was terminated. But he had a friend that worked in the social service and they retaliated against her and somehow came up with a story that her daughter was molesting her son was molesting her daughter, and then her son was molesting the mom. It's all atrocious. It's all atrocious. So, Crystal, I'm glad you came back in here. She's been with us too, and Christina, I'm too. So, Christine says file a punitive damage where your son file a punitive damage, and then where's your son? Her son is in detention court awaiting for trial. He's locked up. Lovely suggested habeas corpus and a restraining order. Anyway, my case has got worse and worse. I've lost my daughter. We did get her boys back, but that was because of hiring an attorney. And, that's one thing I should talk to you guys, because there's been so many misunderstandings when I say hire an attorney. My rule number one is that to solve your case, the best way is to get a legitimate, high-profile attorney who can fight CPS. This attorney I'm talking about that meets this case, let me get the number up there too. This attorney, his name is Vincent W. Davis. He has a law firm called Vincent W. Davis and Associates. He has 35 years of experience of fighting CPS. He has gotten back to kids. He has won CPS. He practices in all the 50 states in Northern California. He is a trial attorney. He's not afraid of CPS. He's sued CPS in civil suits, both federal court and state court. He's done both. He is a trial attorney. And he is offering a consultation. He wants to talk to you all. His number is 888-888-6582. It's on the lower part of my screen in the orange and yellow. When you call in, make sure you say Bob Pace sent you. And when you talk to Mr. Davis, make sure you tell him that Bob Pace sent you. And you want to talk to him for 30 minutes, and he only will charge you $60. $60 for 30 minutes. Consultation. That is a really great deal. A lot of attorneys are at $600 an hour, and I'm not saying that's his hourly rate or anything else. He will talk to you for 30 minutes for $60. That's $2 a minute. And you'll learn more in that session than you will spend on all the other attorneys. And he will help you navigate and fight CPS and tell you what to do. I had a boy today from Huntington Beach, California, near me, who broke down in tears because he's trying to protect his 5-year-old daughter. He had a girlfriend, they had a child together, and then the relationship fell apart. But he was seeing his child. But then that broke off, and they've been going through custody court. They don't have a CPS court. But he asked me on the show, what should I do? Should I contact CPS? Because he says when he sees his daughter on his visitations and gives her a bath, she talked about pointing to her private and says, well, mom shows me this and did that. And then she has some bruises and stuff, and he doesn't know what to do. He is so confused, this boy. This boy was brought up terribly. He was abused as a young child by his mother. Her mother had friends that he would go and he would service them. He'd prostitute. I don't know. He was like real young. Then he got involved into drugs, got in trouble, served time in prison. He's out now. He just found the Lord a couple weeks ago. And he's trying to make himself a better life. And he heard about my show and he called in. But he was emotional. Faye heard him. Everybody heard him. All of you, I know how emotional this is to fight CPS. And I've told you about some examples. Welcome, Michelle Portner. I'm glad to see you. She's been on here before. Crystal, I forgot what city and state you're from. And Michelle Portner, if you could tell me the same thing, that would be great. And Michelle says, none of these kids have ever been represented with their best interests. No, CPS doesn't have the best interests of kids. You have to understand it. They are a danger. I talked about how my daughter was stolen from me. Now I'm going to tell you about another case, a case of pink ladies. There were 8 social workers with 25 years of experience. And these social workers from Prescott, Arizona, near 2022, decided to get pink t-shirts and stencil on the front, professional kidnappers. That is gross. And on the back, they put, do you know where your child's at? And then they paraded in Target, Walmart, Costco, all the stores in Prescott. Till they got caught and they were fired, as well as the director. But that doesn't help the parents or the kids. That's the attitude social workers have. They're professional kidnappers. And they want to take your child. Get that through your head. You can't trust them. That's why you do not talk to them. That's why you say yes, no answers. That's why you don't let them in your home, in your yard. And if any time gets pushed to shove, just say, hey, look, time out. I need to speak to my attorney before I go any much further with you. I'll get back to you. That is a perfect, legitimate answer to get you some time, some breathing room. You may not have an attorney, but you can tell them that I need to speak. It's your constitutional right that through all legal proceedings, you're represented by an attorney. And saying you want to speak to your attorney before you go any further is very, very legitimate. That will give you some time. They'll give you some time. Now, the best way, of course, is to hire an attorney, and not all of you will be able to do so. And there's the pros and cons of using the court-appointed attorney. If you use the court-appointed attorney, you got to keep in mind, you cannot talk in court. You cannot cross-examine or put in motions or anything. You're helpless. In California, I'm told to wait in the hall while my court-appointed attorney was trying to do something for me. And she did nothing. They don't talk to you before court. They don't talk to you after court. And her load was 30. It was like seeing a bumblebee going around pollinating flowers with my social worker who looked like a bumblebee. And she was sitting there pollinating and talking 1 minute with this person. The courtrooms were crowded. And she was going to defend me. She did nothing. You don't even know what goes on in court. She's making wheels and deals and making promises you don't even know about. She's making wheels and deals. Yeah, Michelle's in Dakota Country, Georgia. Yeah, you like the bumblebee. Yeah, think of the court-appointed attorney, a bumblebee, buzzing around. Oh, my God. It was terrible. And this is your life on the line. These are your kids. It's not your fault. You're not born with an operation manual. Like you buy a car, they give you an owner's manual, do they not? That tells you how to turn the lights on and stuff. But when you're born, you're not given a manual. You don't know a manual about life skills, about how to date, how to marry, how to socialize, what sex is about, what pregnancy is about, what CPS is about. They do none of that. It should be mandatory in high schools that your 4 years in high school, every semester you should take life skills. There should be 8 life skill classes. They should be cooking and sewing and pregnancies and sex and CPS and marriage and divorce and how to balance your checkbook, how to do savings. It needs to be all those stuff. Yes, your parents will help you, but a lot of them don't have a father around. A lot of them don't have a mother around. So it's really important there. So going back to this attorney, you know, if you have a court-appointed attorney, you know, some people have told me, a few of them have told me that it works. But unless you push him, unless he's a fighter, he's not going to fight. They don't want to fight CPS. You have to understand, in court, if you have 2 parents, you have 2 attorneys. If you have 3 children, that's 3 more attorneys. Now you're up to 5 attorneys. And if you have 2 social workers, that's 6, 7 attorneys, and the judge and the clerk and the bailiff. And they're all against you. They're all holding hands, and they go to lunch together in the courtroom. They play golf together. You are torn apart in dependency court. That's why you need a real attorney. That's why, if you, after you get done talking to Vincent Davis, talk to him about his retainer. Talk to him about coming and battle your case in Maine. You have nothing to lose. You have 30 minutes. If I knew all this, I would have done so. 30 minutes is a lot of time. And in time, you can cover a lot. Think about what I cover in an hour. But Vincent has his own shows. Listen to him. He's around. And, I really encourage that. Now, I forgot to put up my next way of, in the podcast, I got caught up talking about a story. But besides doing comments, you can also call into my show. My number is 626-698-6990. I'm live. Any one of you can call me. All of you, a lot of you in this room have called me. I'm open because it helps. It helps to hear something besides me. It helps to hear me. To hear other people besides me. So call in at that number. Now, the third way that you can interact. Hey, the door's open. The door's open. Okay, the third way is my son just came home. Hi, son. Anyway, I'm so happy to have my son. He's turned out to be really great. To be a guest on our show, all you have to do is contact my show producer. She works really hard. I want to give a lot of thanks to her. She keeps me in line, make sure the shows go as scheduled, and we don't do anything to violate the rules. Now, to contact her, I'm on 14 shows, 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. I'm on in the morning at 10 o'clock, except on Sunday I'm on at 8 o'clock. And then on evening, I'm on at 7 o'clock. They're 1 hour shows, both of them, 10 o'clock and 7 o'clock at night and 8 o'clock at 10 o'clock in the morning. But it's Pacific Standard Time. I'm on the Pacific coast of California. So those are the times there. So if you want to be on a show, just write the email to Grace and say, I want to be on Bob's Sunday morning show or Bob's Friday afternoon evening show or Bob's Wednesday evening show or Bob's Tuesday morning show. Write that in, send it to her email. It's grace@vincentwdavis.com. grace@vincentwdavis.com. And she will help you get on. She'll contact you, tell you the link for StreamYard. It does not work on Android phones. It will work on Apple phones. Try to use a computer. And then she'll tell you what to do and not to do as a guest. And, listen to her, and she'll keep you in line. She's a good woman. All right. So I've told you about comments, how to call in. I've told you about the phone number to call me and how to be a guest. I'm going to leave the phone number up there. So I have my phone number. So we've had some activity here. They were asking about my story. There's a happy ending. I got my two boys back. They took 3 years. So it was 5 years of fighting CPS and then 3 years of them taking my children and getting them back. I know. Well, yeah, the manual's right, Michelle. They keep changing the rules, so you're right. A manual doesn't. But I tell you, the more you know. If I knew what I knew now, then I probably would not have suffered as much as I did, and I probably have my daughter still. The StreamYard works on your Android phone? Well, that is great, Faye. I didn't know that. I thought it didn't work on Android. Someone told me it doesn't work on Android using StreamYard. So you were talking to me earlier today. I'm confused now because you said that my Android it wouldn't work. Okay, maybe it does work. Okay, great. Yeah, now he says don't follow the rule. So Ian said it didn't work for her, but you used it, Faye. Good. Okay. All right, I stand corrected. So both Apple and Android StreamYard does work on there. Oh, I'm confused. What did you say, Faye? I'm reading too much into it. So what did you say? Faye, what did you say? So that I have it phased right. I don't want to be phased wrong. Ian said the Android does not work on SteamYard. Okay, we'll get back to that, Faye. So, okay, here we go. Maybe I get some help here. Oh, I stand corrected. My show producer says SteamYard works on both Android and iOS. Oh, iOS. Actually, it's much easier to use in Android. I did not know that. I learned something that is great. Thank you, Grace. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. So Faye taught an answer here. Yes, you can use SteamYard on Android phones, but SteamYard recommends using a laptop or desktop for the best experience. To use SteamYard on Android phone, you can open a browser, run a speed test, turn see here, turn on Do Not Disturb, log into SteamYard, and create a broadcast, and then new broadcast allows Mike from Access. Choose the orientation, hit the go button, live tab. Thank you, Faye. You excellent. Thank you. Natalie says golf course club across the street from Los Angeles is Children's Court. I'm confused. Can you explain that better, Natalie? You say the golf course across the street is a children's court? Yes, play golf with our lives. Yes, it does, Faye. Okay. Here's a new person from the room. Welcome, Terry. Terry McDonald says, greeting from Canada, East Coast. Here we go. There's another Canadian. I told you we've had other people from Canada. We had New Delhi, India a couple days ago. And now we got Canada again. CPS empowered by the UN Convention of Rights of the Child. This supersedes national law. A political solution. The police need to have their authorities returned. That's good to hear, Terry. Thank you from the East Coast of Canada. And thank you about sharing the information about the UN Convention. That's something more for me to look at. I'm going to look up after the show the UN Convention of the Rights of the Child. That's a heavy one. UN Convention of the Rights of the Child. And that supposedly supersedes national law. That would be our government. A political solution, the police need to have their authority returned. I don't know. I mean, they seem pretty authority when they take your children when they're not supposed to. There. There's also hot dogs. You need some. Okay. Terry McDowell from Canada on the East Coast said for children protection, social workers need to be defunded. That sounds a good. I'm no argument there. It's an $80 billion business. Crystal Salazar. How can you verify the workers are licensed? You don't have to be licensed to be a CPS worker. In Kentucky, you do. In Kentucky, Faye says that every social worker needs a license. In California, you don't need a license. You don't need a license to be a social worker. They should. And it should be renewable every 5 years with the changes and things. So this is exciting news, Terry McDowell. Thank you for sharing that. That's really, really great. Terry from Canada. That's really, really, really great there. I don't have much time. I have about 8 minutes left. So if anybody had any particular, I'm just going to my rules. I talked about my case. If anybody wants me to talk about ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act, or talk about JFE motion 180 or the 388 motion, or whatever you want me to talk about, I'll gladly talk about. So anyway, I've talked about my case. My case is horrible. I still relive it every day. But I'm glad to have you guys in here because at least I can share something that would make your life hopefully better. Well, Crystal, we have done that. I mean, Sacramento a year ago had a group of people that showed up in Sacramento, California to protest. Had too much sun today. Terrible. So I've talked about Rule 1. Rule 2 is one that a lot of people overlook, but it's about paperwork and how to keep your paperwork organized and how to find documents and things like that. As you see, you're in a court, which is called the dependency court. There is a clerk of that court. Any document that's heard in that court, she has copies of. And all you have to do is ask her for a copy of your court documents if you're missing something. And if I was you, I wouldn't trust CPS to send you court paperwork. I'd get copies. Now, Faye said it was expensive. I think she said it was $2,000 to get copies. Mine was free because I was low income and I applied for it. And in my state, they allow it there. And my stack of paperwork is 24 inches high. It's 2 feet high. And it's a lot of paperwork. But I tell you, I didn't organize it. I just put it in a corner, put it in a box. I had Post-it notes. I had envelopes. I had little torn sheets of paper. I wrote on my phone. I wrote on my day runner. No, you need to organize. And the best way that I've found that I think would really help you is a notebook, a 3-ring notebook that's 6 inches thick, 8.5 by 11, 8.5 by 11. That's 11 inches high and 8.5 inches wide. That's what the size of court documents are. That's why I like it. You can hole punch your documents and you can arrange them by date or whatever. But you should have subject tabs to separate things. Like one subject is incidents, and incidents are so important. Incidents with the school, incidents with the police, incidents with the CPS, incidents with parents, incidents with neighbors, whatever the incidents are. Every incident related to CPS should be there on a piece of paper you write in. And the first line you write on the first incident, you write the date, the time, the location, and who is involved. Then the next line you write, describe the incident. They came to my home. I went to their office. You describe the incident. Then the third is the outcome. They took away my children. And if you don't have an outcome, you can come back later and fill it out. Then skip a couple lines, put the next instance, and the next instance, and the next instance. That way you organize your documents. Another subject area besides court documents is info about CPS. Everything that you look up, everything you find about CPS, websites, phone numbers and stuff should be in that tab. Then you have your tab for your court documents. Then you have your tab for your parenting classes. And you may have certificates and you hole punch those. Same thing with GO programs, anger management, domestic violence, drug, or so forth. All your drug tests, hole punch them, put them there. What you're doing is you bring everything into one source and you can carry it with you. It's going to look pretty big there. So, yes, Crystal, they are getting federal money. As I said earlier in my podcast, they make $80 billion a year. And they get that money from the federal government, who gives it to the state. The state gives it to the county. Terry further says the police are acting at the beck and call of the CPS. CPS takes precedence. Terry further said, Terry's from east part of Canada, my child was taken and I had to read the law because my rights and the rights and interests of my child were not disclosed. I do not get a first hearing before 316 days have passed. I'm preparing for that. Well, Terry, I hope you have an attorney because you are definitely being taken railroad, and I'm sorry to hear that is happening in Canada. So all you parents out there, you're not alone. People in Mozambique, Africa, or Liberia, or Rwanda, they're having the same problem. All those countries I mentioned I've talked to, Sweden and Denmark, United Kingdom, Australia, and all the 50 states. It's terrible out there. Crystal says they are getting federal money. They have to be. Yes, it's true. They get federal money. They get $80 billion a year. That's how much they make off trafficking kids into foster care, alienating the kids from parents. It's sad. Now, rule number 3 is, as I told you earlier, is you do not talk to social workers. You do not talk to police. You don't let social workers in your home. You don't let the police in your home. You don't let them take your child. And if you have medical going on, don't let them take you when you go to the hospital urgent care for your child. Or if you're pregnant, don't let them take you. So it's really important there. And of course, my rule number 4 is you do research all about your case. You put in your city, state, and spend 40, 60 hours, know everything is about CPS. That's the power of winning. But I want you all to keep trying hard to fight your case. But I'm going to close right now, but I'm going to give thanks to Terry McDonald from Eastern Canada for being here. I want to thank Faye, who gives so much help to this room, from Richmond, Kentucky. I want to thank Crystal Salazar for what she has shared. I can't remember where Crystal's from. She's from Natalie from West Hollywood. Thank you. I've already said Crystal Salazar says, I forgot where you're from, Crystal. It's terrible. Terry, Natalie, Ian. Ian is from Washington, D.C. Ian Kirsten. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Michelle Portner, thank you very, very much. Did I forget anybody? I hope not. Crystal Salazar. Christina Reynosa. Thank you from New Mexico. Thank you. Lovely. Thank you so much from Colorado. That's Lovely from Colorado. Can't forget her. We've had a lot of people in this room tonight. A lot of comments. I hope you all look at my other shows. There's a lot of information on my shows that you can look at my past shows and see everything. And I think I got everything covered. Again, I want to see you all tomorrow at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. I'll answer your questions. And God bless you all and keep fighting for your kids. I really care about you. This is Bob Pace signing off.